how do you then make sense of drug use? Nick is,
Okay, that's a nice jump there. I like that. Okay, let's go there. Bismillah.
a lot of Muslims smoke weed, smoke hookah or vape or cigarettes. Nicotine increases anxiety, weed, whatever. And obviously, we know about mushrooms and acid and different psychedelics. How do we then understand how psychedelics affect you? And how do we then understand why something like weed is so potent and desirable in nicotine?
That's a good question. Psychedelics are a bit tricky because I think they alter the mind, and so you possibly even opening you up to jinn. So it's a bit tricky. But think of it like, have you ever? I don't know. Have you ever smoked a cigarette back in the days, or have you ever tried hookah or anything? Well,
For
there's
years,
the initial, when you're seeking, usually, let's say you have some type of addiction that you're looking forward to something. Like, right, let's say you want to smoke weed, and but the weed is not around. You want to go score it or go to a dispensary. Nowadays, it's like everywhere, and buy some. It's much easier than it used to be. And you're like, okay, man, you're up in your head, in your mind, you're like, oh, I can't wait till I smoke, because when I smoke, I feel good and I kind of like relax. There's this anxiety in your head because of a past experience that you felt that you want to feel again. And so you go to the store, the dispensary, and you buy it. And, you say you buy a joint or something and you light it up and you take that first. And that initial moment when you first take it in, there is a sense of there is a dipping into the now. Let me tell you how. And what a lot of people mistake the good feeling they have for the weed, but actually a while later, the weed doesn't make you feel as good, right? You start to, you feel, because I grew up in
start to come
California,
down.
so I've had my experience. I've had my share of trying it as a, teenager and whatnot. And usually you get the munchies, and then the aftermath is horrible. You wake up with a hangover and you're tired, and then you lose motivation. So the symptoms aren't that great. But the moment, and usually the other issue is, you smoke some, if you smoke daily, because you always want that feeling back that you felt, your tolerance goes up. And so you need more. And then the effect doesn't last as long as it does. And you just get caught up in this cycle. But I'm more interested in that first moment where you first had that, initial drag, even as a cigarette, right? Because a cigarette, nicotine has a calming effect. It has benefits too. Like Allah even meant, Allah mentions in the Quran that about, wine, that it has some benefits, has harm, but the harm is more than the benefit, and it's haram, ila akhirih. So what's the benefit of it? And some people, they avoid smoking. They'll take the nicotine gums and stuff because they don't want the bad effects of the smokes. And nowadays they have all these devices like I see it around many of our family, like
Vape.
the vapes, and that has a name, the I something, ICOS, I think it's called. Like, it's a device where you put a cigarette in it, but then it doesn't, there's no combustion, so it's less
Oh
harmful,
yeah, it
whatever it is.
vaporizes the cigarette.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever you're into, man, I'm interested to tell you about that initial hit, the one
Sure.
hit wonder. You take that, you're anxious, right? Let's say you have your pack of smokes, right? And you ran out. And then you got busy in like 2, 3, you're a heavy smoker. And you spent a few hours because you were busy at work and you didn't have a cigarette. Then you start to think about it and you start to crave it. And you're like, oh, I gotta go buy the smokes. I gotta go buy the smokes. You're anxious. You finally grab a new pack of smokes and you take out a cigarette and you light it. That moment where you take that initial drag, yes, it has a physical effect on you because nicotine will, calm you down. You have that kind of agitation, you smoke. And usually people, like when they're angry, right? Or they're yelling, whatever, they take a cigarette so they can calm down. But there's something else there. There's that moment where anxiety is released and it comes to an end because the mind is incessant. It's like it's nagging. Go buy smokes, go buy. I want to feel that relief. I want to feel that relief. When you finally take that drag in and it does what it does, you're no longer in your head about, initially you're in your head about, I need to go buy smokes. So you're like mind traveling. But when you finally got the pack of smokes, you don't have to think that anymore. So the resistance in the mind, those rushing thoughts, they slow down and they're not incessant anymore. They're not bugging you anymore. And you kind of dip into the moment because the cigarette's right there. And then that initial relief, part of that relief is the relief of that nagging mind that's perturbed, and you finally got what you want. So you kind of let go and you dip into infinity for a moment where you're just kind of like in that moment you have it. But once you blow it out, then you're kind of like, okay, I want another one. And you're back in your head. Then you have that moment again. It's kind of like when you're doing an activity that you really enjoy, does time pass faster or slower?
Faster.
Faster. When you're really enjoying something, you're like, where did time go? Why is that? Because when you're doing something you're not enjoying, where are you? You're in your head. Why are you in your head? You're like, man, I really could rather be somewhere else. I can't wait. How much longer do I have at work? And so you're in your head. And when you're in your head, you're in time, the illusion of time. And so you're like, it feels like now you're feeling time more. You're giving it attention. So it's like, why is this class taking forever? But if you're in a class you're enjoying or you're listening to someone that you really enjoy, you look like, where did the time go? Because your attention was not scattered into like anxious thoughts about not wanting to be here and whatnot, or I'd rather be somewhere else. And you're not thinking of anything in the past. Your attention is gathered into the now. It's focused at what you're doing right in the moment. So when that attention gathers into the now is timeless. So it's the same thing as falling into deep sleep when you wake up and you're like, where did the time go? But it's more of a mind game in sleep than it is here. But naturally, if you don't want, whenever I want time to pass quickly, I give dawah. Like I'm telling you, man, I go on trips and in a car, like I have a trip coming up to Chicago. I'll be driving 8 hours towards Chicago soon, inshallah, to attend the mass, I think ICNA conference or something like that. My brother lives there. The 8 hours will pass by like nothing if I'm giving my poor wife dawah the entire way, talking to her about just like my thoughts on deen and Allah and this and that. It's like, where'd the time? But if we're just sitting there, it's like, okay, when's the next gas station and next stop? And it just takes forever because time is a construct of the mind.
Has anything we've spoken about today helpful in ending such addictions?
Oh, yes, subhanallah. It's understanding yourself and then understanding that you can have access, unlimited access to that peace and that salam without any of these substances, simply through the practice of dhikr. I'm not talking about dhikr of the tongue only. I'm talking about truly the kind of dhikr that, where you practice presence. I am not my thoughts. I am not my body. When the thought comes, you observe it. You observe it come and go. And you're kind of like anchored in ruh. And that type of dhikr, it has such a sweetness and a peace to it. But I found nothing more powerful of taking care of addictions than tahajjud. And a specific act of tahajjud. Long hours of sujood and tahajjud. If you can get someone to do it somehow, after the first couple of nights, they'll be addicted to tahajjud. There's a sweetness to long sujood. I'm talking about sujood. Try it, man. The next time Allah gives you tawfiq to get up for tahajjud, don't worry about your qiyam as much. Like, okay, pray, recite whatever you can. But when you go into sujood, Spend 10 minutes per sajda. See how you feel after that prayer. But don't sit there in your sajda planning your next podcast. Like, like when you're in that sajda, like just fill your heart with heartfelt gratitude for Allah and love for Allah and ask Him for whatever you need. Better to ask Him for qualities like yaqeen and patience and the qualities you need for akhirah and this dunya. And you can also ask Him for whatever you want, but take some, after you get all that out of the way, what you want to ask Allah, then just go into silence and dip into infinity and eternity. Like just be and fill your heart with love and gratitude. Just spend like 5-10 minutes. You're not going to feel the 10 minutes if you do that. You might spend an hour in sajda. I had a moment one time where I forgot I was in prayer. I had an experience like that. It was like almost like an out-of-body experience where I was so anchored in the now. It was many, many years ago. I was in tahajjud and I was reciting the Quran. It was actually in qiyam. But then it also happened to me in sujood. And I think maybe an hour passed by. Felt like a moment. But you have to truly let go. You have to slow down thoughts by observing them, by being aware of them. Like just very simply, just like you're observing me right now, you just close your eyes and okay, you think of something or the thought appears and you just like, oh, there it is. You disentangle yourself from your thoughts. I am not my thoughts. I think this. So who's the one thinking? I, awareness, is having these thoughts. I, ruh, is having these thoughts.